We are just connecting. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can confirm you're live. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's special council meeting on Monday, December the 6th. Due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Region Public Health to exercise physical distancing, City Hall is open for select services only on an appointment basis. Members of the public are invited to participate in this meeting electronically by accessing the meeting live stream video at kitchener.ca/watchnow. While in-person delegation requests were not feasible at this time, members of the public were invited to submit written comments or participate electronically in the meeting by contacting delegation@kitchener.ca. Any delegations that have submitted written comments, those comments have been circulated prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. As we commence today's meeting, this afternoon we gather on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. We'll move on to staff reports, and we have one item with respect to the tender for 2 fire pumper trucks and 3 fire aerial units. And both Mr. Scott, Manager of Procurement, Bob Gilmore, our Fire Chief, and Terry Gitzel, our Deputy, are here to answer any questions that Council might have. Are there any questions? There not being any questions, is someone, oh, Councillor Gazzola.
I'm going from memory here. I was trying to find the report.
No worries.
This is something unusual we're doing. We seem to be we're making commitments for the next 2 or 3 years. Can a council do that? Can they commit future councils to something like this?
Who wants to take that question? Mr. Lautenbach.
So through the chair, in terms of pre-approving the items that are in the capital budget, it is something that can be done. It's not something that we normally would do, but given the prices in terms of supply chain issues, we felt it was important to secure the 5 apparatuses through this procurement. And so it is something that council can approve by pre-approving the forecast, which is a separate line within the capital budget. So it is pre-approval of the budget that's first being requested, and then the award of the actual tender.
Yeah, that reminds me. Yeah, it hasn't even the budget still hasn't been approved. The other question I have: why do we not have any comparative figures here for all the bids? We normally get when we're buying vehicles. We normally get all of the different prices, but we're not provided any information here.
Mr. Scott.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, this procurement was a request for proposal process. And so we don't share all of the pricing components with regards to the confidential proposals that we have received, only the ones that have been submitted. And we are currently in the midst of the active procurement as we are currently. So that's why it's only the negotiated proposal that we've come to with the one vendor is shown.
We normally don't go for requests for proposals for vehicles and equipment and tenders of that sort. It's normally only for consulting services and things like that, where there are other issues that are taken into account. To me, this doesn't appear to be very transparent. We're doing something we've never done before, a humongous dollar value in tender, and we're not really provided with all the information. At least if it's a proposal, shouldn't we at least be provided with the comparison of the responses from the other three proposals? I just don't understand why we're doing a proposal like this as opposed to a regular tender.
Mr. Scott?
Through the chair, that is correct that in the past, City Kitchener has not done a request for proposal for the procurement of fire trucks. However, many other municipalities, including Cambridge, this is a standard practice method, request for proposal for fire trucks. We've done it in this avenue so that we could evaluate on more than just price, as there's a number of components here that is important to the fire operation and some of the other items as we address within the report that we wanted to make sure we would capture this time around.
I mean, you can use that argument for anything that we purchase, and is this the road we're going to start going? It really lacks transparency.
Mr. Scott, did you want to say anything else, or Mr. Lautenbach?
So through the chair, I would just say that this process is fully transparent. We bring forward requests for proposals or tenders to council when we're required to under the purchasing bylaw, and that's what we've done in this case. So I would say that the report being brought forward fully outlines the information in terms of what we are procuring, and it follows the process that we would for any RFP process. And so, I would say that we are being transparent by following what our guidelines are and what we have always done in terms of our procurement process.
I'd like a recorded vote on this tender when it's
Okay. I will do that. Thank you, Councillor Gazzola. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, sir. It's not 100% clear from the report, but are all of these trucks for the new station, or are some of them replacements for existing?
Who wants to take that? Mr. Lautenbach? Oh, no. Mr. Scott?
Through the chair, this is for existing equipment, none for the new station.
So these are all replacements?
That's correct.
Okay, and I know it's somewhat outside the scope of this question of tenders, but just because of the quantum, so that would mean that we're retiring 5 of these vehicles. Where do we see that in terms of, because I assume those go out for auction, because I know they get sent to other countries, et cetera. Where do we see that? And do we have an idea what the value of the outgoing vehicles be worth?
Mr. Scott?
Through the chair, I believe fire representatives could answer some of those specific questions, but
actually, that's okay. That's something they can follow up email.
It's located on the bid. It's shown what the projected disposal value is.
That's correct. With regards to the frontline application, the units are moved to secondary units, and then from a secondary unit perspective, then they are surplused and sold through a variety of methods that we could dictate. But if there was specific info, yes, we could follow back up on that.
Okay, and last question, and then I'll have a brief comment. I noticed that all 4 are from, well, 3 are from Ontario, 1's from BC. Are we restricted in any way? Could someone have put in a bid from the States or even abroad on a tender this large?
Yes, through the chair. This was an open competition proposal, so the bids could have come in from anywhere. The proposals that you are seeing, or the proponents who've responded here, are distributors on behalf of U.S. manufacturers. So they're the Canadian distributor component from U.S. manufacturers.
I see. Okay, thank you. And comment when appropriate, Mr. Mayor, as well. Thanks.
Councillor Ioannidis, your question or comment?
Question. Yeah, I think
Okay,
I think Councillor Davies' question answered, because if I recall correctly, in the past when we did these, even like I think even maybe about 12 years ago, or not even 12 years, 11 years ago, there was only one company in the States that were able to outfit these, and I'm guessing. And then you said these are the distributors now. So is that still relatively the same?
Through the chair, there's 4 manufacturers within the US.
Okay.
And so then all 4 are represented here through the proposals we have received.
Oh, okay. So Metz Fire is an independent, they're independent, they're not distributors, as you were getting it?
Through the chair, Metz Fire is a distributor, as is Dart, Rescue Tech, and Commercial. And but specifically the manufacturer that Metz Fire represents is KME.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Gazzola, you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come back to you because Councillor Chapman has not asked questions yet. So Councillor Chapman?
I was just wondering how old the vehicles we're replacing are. Like, how often do we do this?
Chief Gilmore?
Absolutely. So through the chair, our life cycle for a frontline pumper is 9 years. And at the 9-year mark, they're replaced and they go into a reserve status. And I believe off the top of my head, but maybe the deputy will correct me, I believe the life cycle for the aerial apparatus is 15 years.
And they've all reached that threshold?
They are in the next 2 years for sure. So although we're approving the tender for 5, we're not taking delivery of all 5 in this calendar year or next.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, I forgot to ask, are there no manufacturers of fire trucks in Canada, in all of Canada?
I don't know who wants to take that. Chief Gilmore, or Mr. Scott, or Chief Gilmore, or both?
Through the chair, I can start. So there are manufacturers in Canada. The issue is that we request a sole source. So every manufacturer in Canada kind of piecemeals together a fire truck. They'll buy the frame from one company, the cab and chassis and body from another, the pump components, the aerial components, and then they'll just assemble them at their location and sell it as a fire truck. And it's a good idea, but at the end of the day, when you look for service or some warranty or some parts, it's very hard to find the right avenue to get these parts in a reasonable time frame. But when you go from a manufacturer that builds everything on site as a sole source, it's very easy to get replacement parts, warranty, repair.
I really find it difficult to understand that we cannot buy fire trucks manufactured in our own country. That's totally ridiculous. Nobody else seems.
Thanks, Councillor Gazzola. Councillor Davey?
Yeah, thank you. Just in comment first. Yeah, sorry, I did miss the recovery, $366,000 for those vehicles, which is disappointing to see that fire vehicles depreciate the same as our own regular driving vehicles, but I guess that's how it works. I just wanted to be honest, echo some of Councillor Gazzola's concern with not seeing the prices from the other bidders. I 100% have been, I don't know, I've been around long enough. I 100% understand that price is not always the deciding factor. I understand that, you know, the item that Chief Gilmore just brought up in terms of, you know, maybe it's worth paying a higher price for the reliability of getting parts when they break down. Having said that, we need to see, in my opinion, we need to see those numbers coming in, especially on bids like this, because it's our job of an oversight to ensure and double check and ask those questions. And maybe it means that the tender process for some items like this take a little bit longer, but I think that's our job. So I'm gonna support this, but I just wanted to note to staff that going forward, I think, especially on, you know, things that are very cut and dry, like vehicle acquisition. I think we do need to see the prices from the other bidders. And if there's a discrepancy where you're not picking the lowest bid, then we just have that discussion as to why.
Thanks, Councillor Davey. Councillor Gazzola, comment?
Yes, I will not be supporting this at this time. It's really upsetting to see what's happening here. It's something extraordinary where we're spending these dollars for 3-4 years in advance. We still have to deal in the future with foreign exchange because we can't seem to buy anything made in Canada. Who knows what the foreign exchange is going to be 1-2 years down the road. When you talk about these things that are assembled, if they're made in Canada, they're assembled from all different places. In this tender here, there's $681,000 for equipment to outfit the vehicles on top of the vehicles, which are things that are coming from all different places. So I really don't understand why we can't buy Canadian, and why we have to. What are our advantages here of committing ourselves? What is the big advantage that we're gaining from committing ourselves to 2, 3, 4 years down the road? What have we gained from that in this purchase? I can't see it there, so I won't be supporting it.
Okay, I'm not sure if that was sort of a question or a comment more. I don't see any other hands up. I will be supporting this, but I do understand some of the comments that have been made, and do agree that I think if this is a approach that we're going to be using in certain circumstances in terms of RFPs as opposed to tenders for physical items as opposed to professional services, I think that we need to develop whether it's a confidential report or whatever. I think that information does need to be shared with council, as well as clarity in terms of how the various factors were assigned points in the evaluation going forward. I will say that in terms of purchasing early, we just dealt with this similarly at the region in terms of a bunch of advanced purchases, and unfortunately, this has become necessary also because of supply chain issues, quite frankly. I mean, we have vehicles at the region that we've purchased this year, and we likely won't see them until next year. And so if we want to have a chance at getting next year's vehicles next year, we've had to actually move ahead in terms of the purchase process. I think Councillor Gazzola has also raised the broader issue that the last couple of years have brought forward, which is what are the things that we need to get back to manufacturing in Canada, and what isn't. And I think that's certainly a topic that continues to be very active, both federally and provincially in terms of discourse, and no doubt will shape some of the investments, just like PPE did in the early part of the pandemic, that we repatriated back to Canada. Councillor Marsh, comment.
Yeah, just to add to Councillor Gazzola's point and yours as well about supply chain issues, I do have concerns that we're committing for the future years an amount, and I'm just wondering. Sorry, I do have a late question. Will the contract include a fee if the company does not deliver on time? They're guaranteed now this money, but are we guaranteed the timelines that they have proposed?
Mr. Scott?
Through the chair, there is a mechanism in place with regards to delivery schedule. But at this point, we're working towards meeting those targets that we've established through this proposal process and that they have agreed to. But yes, there is a mechanism that, could be leveraged in the event that they're not delivered on time.
Right. No, of course, we all expect it'll be on time and everything will be tickety-boo, but we know from experience with other types of procurement, like the LRT trains, for example, that these things can be unexpectedly delayed for various reasons, including supply chain. And so I just want to make sure that the city is going to have all of the ducks in a row to leverage those mechanisms if we need to.
Through the chair, coming ahead at this time was seen as a strategic opportunity to allow us and the manufacturers to weather this supply chain storm. And so, we've done this very early to meet the targets that we're trying to do as part of the fire forecast. So
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, and that's good. I think it's thoughtful, but I also think that the report outlines all of the potential benefits of this and none of the clear, risks and potential drawbacks. So I think that it would be, good for us to make sure that we are entering into this type of agreement, especially if we're going to see more of them going forward with eyes wide open. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Ioannidis.
Are we taking comments there, Mayor Vanovich?
Yep, this is comments now.
Okay. I basically feel that some of the questions that have been raised does make sense for way things have been done in the past, and knowing how the supply chain has been dramatically impacted by the pandemic. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there is going to be even further delays with this, because the demand for everything has increased significantly. And I think staff are doing a good job, to be honest. And when it comes to our fire department and the supplies and the equipment that they need, this is something that we can't be gambling on and hoping that they're going to be available when we practically want to order at the accurate time. So I think this is a good move, and I'm happy to support this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Those are all the comments I see. So recorded vote has been requested. So starting with Ward 1, Councillor Davey.
I'm in support.
Thank you. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I don't think anybody actually moved and seconded it. So I'll take a mover and second for Councillor Ioannidis and seconded by Councillor Michaud. Thank you. Councillor Davey now.
I still support.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davey. I was worried after you saw, the mover and seconder. Anyway, Councillor Schneider, just kidding. Councillor Schneider.
In support.
Thank you, Councillor Gazzola.
Opposed.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud.
In support.
Thank you, Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Ioannidis.
In favor.
Councillor Johnson.
In favor.
Councillor Chapman.
Opposed.
And Councillor Marsh.
In favor.
And I'm in favor as well. Thank you. That is carried. Okay. Council on the appointments. As you know, there's been some confusion in terms of documentation and so on. So that's been rescheduled to Council Day on the 13th. So we'll now move into the in-camera meeting authorization. Mover and seconder to go in camera for the items listed. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, Councillor Johnson, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion for 3 readings. Councillor Schneider, Councillor Davey, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And motion to adjourn. Councillor Marsh, Councillor Chapman, thank you. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So if everyone can just